everybody, welcome to another episode of Healthzone with Gilbert Cheah. I'm Gilbert Cheah, I'm the editor of Healthzone Singapore. You can find us on Facebook under Healthzone Singapore. And today we're going to be talking about something that is really important that many of us take for granted, and that is the whole issue of sleep, how to sleep better, what are the sleep problems you're facing, what you need to do to deal with that, and many more. So stay tuned. You know, if there was a totally natural, harmless pill that we could all take that could help us burn fat, build muscle, sharpen our minds, decrease our chances of getting many diseases, including Alzheimer's, strokes, heart disease, kidney disease, high blood pressure, among many others, I'm pretty sure we will all be clamoring for it and taking it regularly. Well, there's no such pill, but there is something that delivers all of those benefits, and we don't even need to pay for it. And that, of course, is sleep. This is obviously something that we all do and hardly think about, and this is part of the problem. We take sleep for granted. Even if we're not sleeping enough or well, we shrug it off and we plod on, not thinking too much about it. So many people suffer from sleep deprivation that it has become a part of modern life, and we just accept it. We are all sleepless in Singapore. But here's the real issue. Sleep problems, even those you may not know that you are suffering from or that you do not think are a big deal, can really profoundly affect your health and may really shorten your life or lead to very serious health issues. In fact, there are people who are suffering from health issues right now that they don't know are actually caused from lack of sleep. So it's definitely time for us to take sleep seriously. So here are some important things that you need to know to get the sleep that you need. First, you've got to recognize the importance of good sleep and place a value on it. This is so important because if you do not think or believe that sleep is important for your health, or you think of it as a luxury rather than a necessity, you will not prioritize it. And if you do not prioritize it, nothing you try to do will work. Because let's face it, it's all too easy to make excuses and give in to all sorts of distractions instead of sleeping. So the first thing we have to realize is the importance of sleep, and we need to prioritize it. Sometimes what happens is that people see sleep almost as a sign of weakness and will brush off the need for sleep by saying, "Oh, I'm not the kind of person who needs a lot of sleep." But get this, being able to get by with less sleep because you do it so often does not mean that it's healthy or that you are not damaging your body. I've heard people say, "Oh, I can sleep when I'm dead." Well, actually, if you don't sleep, you could be dead sooner than you think. These are some ways that sleep is so much more important than many of us realize, which we need to understand so that we can prioritize sleep. First, sleep is essential for healthy brain function and emotional well-being. You know, sleep affects the well-being of every type of tissue and system in the body, from the brain and the heart and our lungs, right down to our metabolism, the immune functions, mood, and disease resistance. The lack of sleep or getting poor quality sleep increases the risk of disorders including high blood pressure, obesity, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, depression, and dementia. And sleep is important to a number of brain functions, including how our nerve cells in the brain, the neurons, communicate with each other. Unlike what many people think, that the brain is being switched off during sleep, actually when you're sleeping, the brain is still remarkably active. What is happening is that while we are sleeping, our brains are being serviced and tuned up, like a race car at a pit stop during an F1 race, for example. And no matter how powerful or fast your race car is, if you don't get it tuned up and repaired, you're damaging the mechanisms and engines, and this damage will build up more and more as we get older. Research has shown that sleep plays a very important role in removing toxins in the brain that build up while we are awake. I've talked about this in previous episodes of Health Zone, but it's worth repeating. People with Alzheimer's disease, they find that they have clumps of two types of sticky substances in their brains, beta amyloid and tau proteins. And these proteins, which build up in the brain, are believed to damage and destroy brain cells. Now, what happens during sleep, especially deep sleep, is that the body releases cerebrospinal fluids that help to clear away these sticky plaques from the brain. A neuroscientist described it as your brain taking out the garbage while you're off in dreamland. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. Secondly, sleep is really important for immune function. The immune system is the foundation of good health, as it is the body's way of fighting off any invading pathogens, and it's even responsible for fighting enemies that come from within, such as cancer cells. So it's essential to make sure that your immune system is in optimal working condition, as it is the guardian that prevents disease and illness. And sleep deficiency can weaken your immune system, making it harder for you to fight infections. Many people will notice that when you're sleep deprived, you fall ill more easily, and there's a good reason for that. Dangers of sleep deprivation. Okay, now sleep impacts daytime performance and safety. Aside from its effect on our health, sleep deprivation also poses dangers for us in other ways. Our daytime alertness and energy are severely affected by sleep deprivation. If you are sleep deficient, your productivity at work or school will drop, and you will take longer to finish tasks, have a slower reaction time, and make more mistakes. Now, that's okay if you're basically in a sedentary job, you're in school, but that can be really dangerous when you're doing something that is not sedentary. And what do I mean by this? Sleep deprivation's effects compound and grow. For example, if you lose 1 or 2 hours of sleep per night, your ability to function is affected as if you had not slept for a whole day or two. And the body tries to compensate for this lack of sleep in ways that can be very dangerous, without you even knowing, through a phenomenon known as microsleep. What's microsleep? Microsleep is a brief period of light sleep that happens suddenly and without intention. It can last from a fraction of a second to up to 15 seconds when parts of your brain actually shut down without you even knowing. It's your body's way of compensating for the lack of sleep. And you can imagine how dangerous it is if someone suddenly falls asleep without planning to, even if it's for a few seconds. It's especially likely to happen when you're doing anything that's monotonous, such as driving, sitting in a train or bus, or sitting in meetings. And it's more likely to occur late at night or in the mid-afternoon. In fact, studies show that vehicular accidents are more likely to happen between 1 and 4 a.m. and 1 and 4 p.m. You can't control microsleep, and you might not even be aware of it. Students listening to a lecture, for example, can fall asleep, miss out some of the information, and have difficulty understanding points, and not even realize that they had drifted off to sleep. It's likely to sleep through parts of the lecture without even realizing or remembering it. The danger is that often people who are sleep deprived aren't aware of the risk of sleep deficiency and microsleep, and many will insist they are functioning. For example, drowsy drivers often feel they are able to drive, but studies show that sleep deficiency affects our driving ability as much as or even more than being drunk. Just think about that, for example. In the US, for example, driver sleepiness is responsible for over 100,000 car accidents each year, resulting in over 1,500 deaths. And drivers aren't the only ones affected by sleep deficiency. It can affect people in all lines of work, including healthcare workers, pilots, students, lawyers, mechanics, and assembly line workers. As a result, sleep deficiency is not only harmful on a personal level, it can also cause large-scale problems on society. For example, sleep deficiency has played a role in human errors linked to tragic accidents such as nuclear reactor meltdowns, grounding of large ships, and aviation accidents. So now that we've pretty well established the crucial importance of sleep, let's talk about ways that we can make sleep easier and more restful. Here are some of my tips for good sleep, which are all scientifically backed up, and some of them may seem surprising to you, but these are important for us to know and to follow. First, keep your cool. Believe it or not, the body falls asleep easier when it's cooler than when it's warmer, as the body temperature automatically drops as it winds down and prepares for sleep. So this is what happens is that if you're put in a very cold environment, you're more likely to drift off to sleep. And this happens in countries where there is winter, for example, and people are caught outdoors. They can die of hypothermia because the body actually goes to sleep, and then they die that way. So your body actually naturally gets sedated when you're in a cool temperature. So obviously in Singapore, we can just turn on the air conditioning. But I do know of some people who don't like air conditioning. So try this tip to cool off your room without having the air conditioning on. Close your windows and doors and turn on the air conditioner in your bedroom for about 30 minutes before you're going to sleep. And then when you're ready to sleep, turn it off. You can sleep with a fan on, and this will cool the room down without having the AC on the whole night. And 18 degrees Celsius is ideal because that is your body's core temperature needs to drop by about 1 to 2 degrees in order for it to sleep. Second important thing, you got to stick to a schedule. Keep the same sleep hours every day, even if it's the weekend or if you did not sleep well in the previous night. Resist the urge or temptation to take a nap after you come back from work, as this will definitely make it harder for you to sleep that night. If you need to nap in the day, avoid napping longer than 30 minutes. Next, aim for quality and quantity. Both are important for sleep. We need about 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night, more if our work involves strenuous activity or if we weight train or work out intensely in the gym, for example. But sleep quality is as important as quantity. So watch out for the things that can affect the quality of your sleep. And one of these is alcohol. Now, you may be surprised at this because many people think that when they drink alcohol, it will help them to sleep. But actually, this is the reality. Alcohol is tricky. Drinking too much will knock you out, but this is not the same as sleeping. Your brain is then switched off, but it's not experiencing the deep rest that real sleep gives you. For example, what happens when you're drinking alcohol and you get knocked out is that it blocks your REM sleep. And this is REM stands for rapid eye movement. This is the part of your sleep when you start to dream. And this is a very important part of restfulness and feeling refreshed and rested. So while alcohol can make you feel drowsy and have you fall asleep overall, it results in poorer quality sleep throughout the night. And very importantly, alcohol worsens breathing problems while sleeping. It depresses the central nervous system and it slows down our heart rate and respiration, which can make it difficult for us to breathe. It's especially dangerous if you take alcohol with other sedatives, such as sleeping pills, because this combination can be fatal. So if you've got any kind of breathing problems where you have basically like a blocked nose and you're not able to breathe through your nose and you have to breathe through your mouth, taking alcohol before you sleep can be dangerous. You have to watch out for that. And we'll be talking about sleep issues, more serious sleep issues in another episode, issues like sleep apnea, which affect a surprisingly high number of people. And this is something that we need to go into deeper discussion with, and we'll save that for a different episode of Health Zone. Now, the other thing that we have to watch out for is caffeine. Of course, we know that caffeine is a stimulant that can really affect sleep. But some people will think that they're not affected for it and they can fall asleep even after drinking coffee or tea. But keep in mind that what caffeine does is it can also block deep sleep. So you do fall asleep, but you're not sleeping deeply. So what happens is you wake up lethargic instead of feeling refreshed. The next thing that we need to have is sleep discipline. And this is so important, it's so difficult, and that's why they use the word discipline. You have to avoid lights, especially phones and tablet lights. I'm sure many of you know that the phone and tablet lights give out blue light. And blue light is really bad for you because it tricks your body into thinking that it is daytime, and it suppresses the production of melatonin. We've talked about melatonin in previous episodes of Health Zone, but it's well worth repeating. Melatonin is a natural sleep hormone that your body produces, and as you get sleepy and as time comes for you to sleep, it produces more melatonin, and this is what helps you sleep. But what happens is that if you are exposed to blue light, and blue light comes from the sun in ultraviolet light, it also comes from screens, television screens, computer screens, tablets, and your phone, it suppresses your brain from producing melatonin, and then you feel wide awake when it's time for you to sleep. Babies produce a lot of melatonin. That's one of the reasons why they're able to sleep so easily. And actually, the body produces less melatonin as we get older. And the problem with this is that as we get older, it becomes more difficult for us to fall asleep because there's less melatonin. So you compound all of these factors. We're getting older, our body is producing less melatonin. On top of that, we're exposing ourselves to a lot of lights, which then suppresses whatever melatonin that we are producing. And of course, no wonder we all have difficulty sleeping and getting good sleep. So, the best thing you can do basically is really to limit the amount of light that is coming into your eyes as your bedtime approaches. The great thing is that a lot of phones now have got the yellow light function, the sleep function, where it puts a yellow cast onto the phone so that it doesn't have the blue light. But that may not be enough. So for those of you who still have difficulty sleeping, I've mentioned this in previous episodes, but I would like to remind you again because I think it's something you could find very helpful, is you might want to take a melatonin supplement. Now, keep in mind that melatonin is not a drug. It's a natural sleep hormone that your body produces. And you can get it now at GNC, you can get it at Watson's, you can get it at Guardian, you can get it over the counter. Many, many brands make it. So many people who have taken melatonin usually take it as a pill that you swallow with water. Now, the problem with this is that by the time it goes through your digestive system and is metabolized through your liver and into your bloodstream, it may not be as strong as it needs to be to help you fall asleep. That's why I recommend that you take melatonin in a sublingual form, which is as a lozenge, which you place under your tongue. Again, you can find the lozenge form of melatonin in under many different brands in any of your common drugstores in Singapore. And usually 1 mcg, 1 microgram would be enough for that. Just put it under your tongue, take it about half an hour before you're supposed to go to sleep. Avoid the lights, and you'll find the melatonin works for you in that way. But above all, as I've said, you've got to prioritize sleep. You've got to have the sleep discipline to turn off the phone, because what happens sometimes is that even after people take the melatonin or they're already naturally sleepy, they're still scrolling to the phone because they're getting addicted to that, and that is going to disrupt it. So that's it in a brief summary of all of the things that you need to do to get a good night's sleep, and now you know how important sleep is. And I hope you'll follow the advice and really get the kind of rest and relaxation that we all need, because it will be so much better for your health, for all of us basically, and we won't be sleepless in Singapore anymore. Stay tuned for further episodes of Health Zone in the weeks ahead. And please do comment and give us your feedback, ask questions. If you have any, we'll try and answer them. And watch out for us. This video is available on IGTV as well as on YouTube, and it's also available as a podcast on all of the podcast channels of Spotify and so on. So stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you again.